Hey everybody, Andrea here, life coach and nurse. And thank you. I'm going to be mindful. Oh, maybe you can't hear me. Let me make sure.
How's this? Now, I have the chat going, the Q&A, so let me know if you can't hear me and see me. Welcome. I'm just so excited to always be in working with nurses. And what I know is how much impact I see the nurses around me making. And I love nurses. I think that we are in a growth profession. We're growing ourselves. Thanks, Britta. That's amazing. I appreciate the feedback. And we are thriving. We can be safe in this profession. And so welcome to Stress Less and Accomplish More. Now, like I said, this is a safe space. I would really love for you to be sharing things that are coming up. The point of this webinar is you can take all of this work today and make it work today for you. And so thank you. Thank you for being here and welcome. Nurses are doing all the things, running the world. Woo! I mean, as you can tell, I am impacted by some of the best nurses where I work and work with some of the best nurses. But sometimes we're working from a negative balance for ourselves. It's like we can't swipe our debit card with no balance, right? Think about that when you're like tapping or swiping. That's what you might be anticipating as you're thinking about accomplishing something, is that you're going to be accomplishing from a negative balance from yourself. We're going to be changing that today. Less working from that negative balance, but filling, making deposits as we go. The accomplishment, which I think everyone gets to decide how much, what their goals are, and how not little, but I think we get to decide our pace, our operational tempo, and what's right for you is right for you. And you get to decide on that. And the accomplishment that you're pursuing might be the big deposit. It might really grow your balance at the end. But we also don't want to get there without those little deposits. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We want you to be growing and filling, making deposits while you're accomplishing. How to build and make those deposits are with our thoughts. And that thought cycle, that's how we begin to close that gap. It starts with how we think. How we think creates our feelings and then our actions. You get to decide how you experience accomplishing and learn that when we prioritize ourselves, we stay present with us and our life when we are accomplishing. We often will cycle in and out of times that ask more from us. I bet as I'm talking through some of this, you already are thinking about times that have asked more from you and things in the past that you have accomplished. And we have never been wrong. Nurses never do it wrong. We always get to have more perspective on how we're growing and accomplishing. There is a buzz phrase in nursing, taking care of ourselves first. And to me, that's knowing ourselves so that we can allow ourselves to make withdrawals in a way that serves us. So I often call that honoring our energy cycles. But it's a skill set, learning how to take care of ourselves first. And we throw that around a lot. But we're taught early on as caregivers that we're way at the bottom of the list. And we're just going to move ourselves back to the front of the list as a priority while we're accomplishing. I love the work nurses are doing in the world. I like the work of being a nurse. So here's a question I would love to pose. When I say the word accomplishment, what does that bring up? And if you feel like you could post that in the comments or care to share, please feel free. And I'll give everyone 30 seconds or so to put that in the chat and to think about that. Accomplishment, what does that mean? To me, accomplishment has become a way of being and a feeling rather than the to-dos. And that was a big shift in my life. And so one of my goals, oh, thank you, Britta. Patient with a good outcome, connecting with one of my staff members. I love that. Yeah. And we all have a sense of accomplishment that we can get to every single day. I want to thank you for sharing that. A patient with a good outcome, connecting with one of my staff members. Yeah. Well, let's follow up with the next question. How does accomplishment make us feel? So when I think of it as a feeling, I feel whole, I feel confident, I feel capable. And what happens if we feel like we're not accomplishing? Your purpose. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I love where we're thinking, how our heads are thinking about this, right? Our goal today is to not automatically do more to accomplish, but also to remember that we have to feel that feeling of accomplishment in ourselves. And so, do we lose that if the feedback from our environment isn't showing us that? And how do we get in touch with that today? Those are part of the 3 tools that I'll share in just a few minutes here. But celebrating is so important, that we're seeing things around us when they're working as amazing. But how do we use those times to build those little deposits for days when we're not seeing that feedback in our environment and still being able to tap into that purpose and joy? And sometimes we try to do more to create those feelings. And so what I'm going to invite you to do today is always have a thought to go to first so that we're not overworking or underworking based on the feedback from our environment, knowing that your purpose is there, even as we're accomplishing, and seeing that happen more regularly. That's all about our operational pace and tempo that comes from what we're thinking. So when we're thinking about pursuing an accomplishment, when we're thinking about what that is, we have to think about what we can control in this situation. And that's always ourselves and what we're thinking. And are we looking for a way to feel that's available to us today, even though we're always going to be wanting more? Nurses are always going to be seeking more. We're always going to be reaching new goals. But how do we get that feeling of purpose today? Or the capability, the competence, the confidence, the peace, the fun, the playfulness. You can become that person that feels how you feel when you have accomplished today. Now, trust me, we'll talk about our minds and how our bodies work together, and don't always want to create that because we want evidence, but that's where we chip away and make little deposits. You know, it may seem even like the accomplishment after it's done was just not good enough for all the stress. How we create our feelings, not through the having of the accomplishment, but through what we are thinking, is how we then know ahead of time, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing and creating, but I'm already going to feel this way. So I'm going to pause here to just see if anybody has any more comments that they want to put in the chat. Just going to take a few seconds because I've said a lot of words. They bring up a lot of things. And hopefully you're writing a lot of these things down that you can pass on to people and use. Or you might have questions, and I'm always available to talk through any of these things. Because remember, these are new skills. We have all the skills of nursing. We learn educational skills that are amazing. And this skill set of taking care of ourselves first, which is honoring our energy cycles so that we can be less stressed and accomplish more, are really the skills that augment everything else that we do. So maybe we're starting a journey and we're thinking this is going to be suffering and pain, life on pause. You know, maybe you had an accomplishment one day, and then the next day it's like, no, none of that showed up. That's where we want to pull from our future self, not put ourselves on pause. We want to take a moment to celebrate and not put ourselves at the bottom of the list because that accomplishment didn't feel that way today. We get a little bit of evidence that we are good, capable, confident. We have what it takes. We're doing it. We're seeing it happen. And then we start taking action. And then we notice that we start to feel the same way again. It's okay to slow down, to speed up. And what that means is always doing less actions if we're not sure about our intentions or what we're feeling. You know, the one thing I've learned from being a nurse is that I'm just never right. And so I just appreciate everyone's perspective on this. And I know that there's a lot of questions around how our minds and bodies work. And let's talk about some things now that you might have heard, because in nursing, we hear a lot of things. We have a lot of narratives about the work, and maybe you've heard things about things you might want to accomplish, or you've heard things about outcomes, or you recall how much stress you had last time when you were accomplishing something or working on something and it just didn't feel how you wanted. Some of the things that nurses accomplish are finding their confidence, building work relationships, going to a new unit, starting a new role, getting educational advancement, leadership, and so much more. So whatever is in your bucket or on your priority list, thank you and keep it going. It's all possible. But you might be thinking, yeah, absolutely. The slow down to speed up. Yeah, that really has been something that I intentionally pave. And let me tell you, it meant a lot to me. So thank you for saying that. Yeah, patience. So here's some things you might be thinking. This is going to take a lot out of me. I will be good at all of it or none of it. My life may have to suffer while I'm doing this. My work life or my family may have to suffer for me to do this. I'm not sure how to get through this. Those are all of the thoughts that we sometimes have about accomplishing something or replicating something we've accomplished. Some of those thoughts don't feel so great, right? They feel pretty energyless. So I wanted to talk for a moment about stress, that it's an observation or a feeling. It's an adaptive and normal part of life. It's not something that we're ever going to be rid of. It's something that we can notice, pay attention to, and use how we would like to. The way to lessen our stress is to know our minds and ourselves. Thoughts that can create the feeling of stress were some that I mentioned. Here's a couple others that you might notice that your brain sneaks in. Or maybe as you slow down to speed up, you'll start to notice that our brain offers these. And we're nurses. We know that we're always looking for trouble so that we can find a solution. But what we want to do in our lives at times is notice what's not trouble, what is working. And that discerning brain just takes a little noticing. You know, I've noticed in my life in the past a lot that I might suck at this. I'm not doing well. There's not enough time. These are thoughts that create the feeling of stress. and they will come up, and stress will be there. And sometimes we need stress to move us forward. But when we're thinking about altering our operational pace, the momentum of how we experience or replicate accomplishment, when you start at your root cause, which is how you are thinking about what you have accomplished or you are embarking on accomplishing, you see your life change. And I will share the tools and some thoughts that we can use when our brain offers there's not enough time. You're really not doing well at this. We'll get some of those. Or if you have some that you fall on or use, you can certainly share those, because there are no right or wrong. Our beliefs, our thoughts come up for each of us, and oftentimes different ones resonate for different people. Nurses work hard. We accomplish a lot. I think we all know that. How is it true that we take care of ourselves last because we put others first? What if that's not a trade-off? What if we're always non-negotiable, and it doesn't make us selfish, but more available as we're honoring our energy cycles or taking care of ourselves? If you are taking care of you first intentionally, you might think that someone else will be suffering. Does that come up for you? Taking care of you first intentionally and accomplishing, then someone else might be suffering. A lot of times we think that with our families, right? Or with our patients, as with what's offered. Sometimes taking a few minutes for ourselves, putting our feet up, closing our eyes just for 5 minutes on lunch, or having a drink, or stepping away for a walk. Sometimes not even an action, sometimes just noticing my thought, like I might not be doing a good job. Oh, it's possible I am, and noticing the impact I'm making. That moment of prioritizing myself only adds to the care or to the way that my family experiences me. But it takes that pause, that intention to notice why we're feeling bad. And if we think about it as good outcomes, connecting with, other people, that's first a connection with ourselves. How we connect with ourselves ripples to other people. I know that you each have your own experience, career, and accomplishment goals, and I would never say any of those are wrong or not worth accomplishing or not worth having some stress for. I think all of the emotions are valuable, but I sure understand what it's like to be a nurse at the bedside and away from the bedside, and to be working on always making more impact and be accomplishing in the world. The culture of one, the process that I share for nurses to break free of the stress of being overworked and underpaid, resting your way to success in nursing, doing hard work from a rested resource state where we're not emotionally depleted. We honor energy cycles. We ask for what we want. We get support without shame. We empower ourselves to be leaders in the field by embodying the changes that we want to see in nursing. This is the mission that I see all the nurses around me embarking on. Just we're not naming it, so I'm naming it. Now, what we're learning today, and I'm going to go into the tools, is that really pausing is important, noticing what accomplishment means to us, and then going to our future self to ask, what does this look like? This is what we're going to leave with today. Really starting to think, how do I put myself first, which is honoring my energy cycles, because sometimes I have to speed up. I have no choice, but then I get to slow down too. So if you would like to set up time with me to work one-on-one, you can certainly do that in the chat, or you can put your email in the chat and you can receive a little bit of the culture of one each week in your email. So let's move on to what we do not want as nurses is burnout. If you're new, I bet if you're a leader in nursing, or if you're new to nursing, you're thinking, how long can I be a nurse without burning out? As long as you want. Or I've been burnt out, which I have been. How long until I'm burnt out again? As long as we use our minds, our thoughts and bodies, then we will not be burnt out. We also do not want to gain efficiency and accomplishment while adding stress, and then maybe not recognizing ourselves for our accomplishment or being recognized. We do not want to lose touch with what is currently important to us, like our families, our pets, our children, our work, our education, our workouts, all of those things. And we don't want to harm our bodies mentally or physically. Those are some of the things I've heard that nurses do not want. What we do want is the safety to be a nurse and accomplish what we want with less stress. So I'm hoping that today you can leave with a sense of relief knowing that this is possible, that you can feel how you want to feel when you have accomplished. And I've been able to accomplish things differently because I allow myself to be that person ahead of time. I really have learned to trust myself to be safe in what I'm working on, safe with my mind and body, checking on my purpose, impact on making sure that I'm checking in with my impact on myself and for others with what I'm thinking, feeling, and doing. And I'm willing to do the work to honor my energy cycles. Have you ever considered how to not identify with the experience of stress? Maybe that's something that has never been asked of you or presented, because we do think stress is a pretty natural part of accomplishing in life. So I'm going to ask that question again. Have you ever considered how to not identify with the experience of stress? Yeah. I'm not a person that identifies as stressed, but stress kind of flows off me like water, and that isn't bad if it doesn't work that way for you. But that experience of stress is different when we think and feel differently. And I've found a way to regulate and clear that. And that gives me a lot more clarity in terms of what I can focus on and accomplish and know what's possible. So let's practice now. Let's take a minute and for a hot second, go to the future and envision your mind having that accomplishment done or accomplishing that every single day. What will that be like? Let yourself go to the future. You might want to jot that down and think about what that would feel like. That might be slowing down every day and speeding up. That might be every connection being a good outcome. So this is, I think, one of the best tools is working with the end in mind, is going to your future place, thinking, how would I be if I was accomplishing this with every single day? How would I be thinking and feeling? So here's the 3 tools I want you to focus on, and you can share these with anyone. Very simple. We have all 3 of them already. First one is our mind. Know what you are thinking. Here's one I really like. Just slowing down and thinking about how it feels to be on a journey equipped with the thought, I am enough. I am enough. Even though I'm going to accomplish something great every day, I'm already that. Like, how great is that? You walk out onto your unit. I am enough. It just flows in the interactions. People just come to you. The feedback, you create that from who you are. Or I have accomplished and I can slow down right now. Then you get to notice your mind and body. I have accomplished. I am enough. I will celebrate. I am celebrating as I embark on a new journey because of who I am. It is possible that I will accomplish this with more ease and less stress. There is a process for this. I'm taking care of me first. I can decide what and how I want to experience accomplishing. The things we can control, the first piece is our mind. And right now we might believe some of those things. There's not enough time. Things haven't been going well. I might not know what I'm doing. Sure, but what percentage are you going to give yourself in believing that until you start thinking, I can slow down to speed up? There is a process for this. I am enough. I can celebrate. What that creates in your body ripples to the world and to your environment. And that's what the culture of one focuses on, is how when we're not waiting for feedback from around us to create how we think and feel, we do that. So that's the first tool, mind. Body, feelings or energy. Yeah. What are nurses really good and focused on every single day? People's bodies, what someone's body is doing, how it is feeling, how to make it mobile. Even right now, if you're listening to this, but doing something else, like you're already moving, great. If you're just watching and sitting still, just move your body a little bit and get some energy flowing and notice what's been coming up for you as you've been hearing or seeing this. Starting to loosen up the ball in your gut, which I think we all get as we go through our work days. Pay attention to your body. It helps us know where we are. When our body is feeling stressed, if we notice, that's our time to check in. Make a little deposit. Ching. Bring priority back to you. No one loses when you keep yourself, the important part of your work, refreshed, restored. Now you might be saying, okay, what do you do with your mind and your body? Well, let me just share a scenario. Your mind will say, this is possible. Your body remembers the last time maybe you were in school, remembers the stress, like you were tight, maybe you just remember how it felt in your body all the time. This is where you get to decide to bring your mind and body closer together. When your mind says, this is possible, you are enough, and your body says, no, I feel clamped down, I feel bad, I feel stressed and tight. This is where you get to be awake in your own mind, and you get to do what I just said, loosen up your body, start to notice what you're thinking and bring them closer together. Like, this is possible. You know, you might not be able to believe that you can do whatever you want to do with less stress. But when we marry our mind and body, but also think about the weekends when you come back from work and your body feels really loose and your mind right away is like, things aren't going well here. Your body's like, I feel great. And your mind says, things aren't going well here. And then your body starts to feel tight and you start to close down and everything changes, right? Those are the signals that I'm really asking you to start paying attention to. And you can ask and share with people to do the same. This is possible. You're the first priority because the accomplishment does not happen without you. Here's some questions. What do I need right now? How is it true that I can slow this down to speed up? Our new tool is to say no. As nurses, we're learning to say no to keep our plate manageable. I'm also asking you to say yes to noticing your mind and body first. So we're really good at saying no, like it might be more work to think this way and to do the mind and body work, but really, I think it's an important yes for us. Here's the last tool, past and possibility. Science of all forms started as a possibility that grew to evidence. That's where you are starting today. That despite your past experience, what you already expect, or maybe you've already heard, what you know is really that you make possible your experience in your mind. I would really ask for you to stop asking for people's experience and start asking your future self, please, as I did before. Go to your future self, ask what advice they have for you, ask what it feels like to be done with that accomplishment now, and how are you going to be that person today? Now that's going to bring up for you, well, if I don't ask, how will I know? We don't want to ask for the drama and the noise. We can't experience anyone else's journey except in their stories. And so it's not happening for us. So when we don't ask for those things, then the questions that we really need to ask become apparent, and we spend less time on the things that we don't need to be asking or experiencing. So past impossibility. We do really believe and are taught that our past informs, and it does to a certain extent, but not more than our possibility. It's just going and asking, what do I believe? What can I believe? How can I live in that possibility today? And it's not going to make you feel amazing every single second of every day. I guarantee you, every emotion is going to be there for you. But we want to be asking ourselves some different questions. So if you've gotten some relief from this today, I want you to know that I'm excited for you to be energized, have some relief, be focused, excited, open, nervous, heard. I get it. This work is day to day, sometimes hour to hour. It takes on every form. It sometimes brings stress to certain people. It asks you to grow and evolve. I hope that you feel heard and understood. And what you are accomplishing or thinking of accomplishing is super important. And again, we are creating systemic change in nursing as we're pulling back to our culture of one. I really hope that you were able to take some tools from this. And certainly, if you have questions now, I want to open up the floor to that. Or if you have observations, I would love to hear any of those. So I'll just give you a minute to think through if there's anything that you want to post. Now, if you would love to set up time to talk more about your energy, how you're using your resilience, how you're thinking about really starting to make yourself non-negotiable so that you can stress less and accomplish more, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or we can even set up a time now. If you want to talk one-on-one this week, we can certainly do that, because that building that plan and those strategies are really important as next steps. But you hearing this today, you'll be able to take this work of going to the future and pulling it back and asking people, hey, how are you taking care of yourself today? How are we slowing down to speed up? How are we continuing to let stress roll off of us like water in the shower, and know that stress is normal, but we get to decide how we think and feel about this with the 3 tools: mind and body and past and possibility. And remember, we're always managing mind and body going together. Body is usually going to tell us something, and that's coming from what our mind is offering us. And we get to work on bringing those closer together and closing that gap. Well, I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you in the nursing world so, so, so much. So thank you, and stress less, accomplish more. Go get this world, nurses. Bye now.